What is up, guys? Welcome back to another video on Pure Panorama. In this video, we are flushing the brake lines and going through the brake system on the 24-valve Cummins. Not so much with the front brakes because, as you guys know, we did the 3rd gen brake upgrade on the 2nd gen here not too long ago. Back in May, I think we did it. So the front brakes are good. All new pads, calipers, and rotors. We are diving into the rear drum brakes and installing new wheel cylinders and then pumping all that old DOT3 brake fluid out through the master cylinder, out from there, all through the brake lines. We're getting rid of all that old fluid and cycling in new fresh fluid. We are actually headed out to my dad's garage to do this and hang out with him, give him a hand if he needs a hand around the garage, and just have a little bit more space to work on the truck. Also, insulated, heated, I don't even have to say anymore. So once we got out to my dad's garage and got into it, the project, well, it started off fine, plucking the rear wheels off and whatnot. And as soon as we got on the rear brake line on the driver's side, which by the way is a 3/8 wrench to pop that free, I did not clean that out well enough, and well, we busted that brake line. So I was left having to run around and find some brake line for that, which by the way is just your standard 3/16 brake line. So that is what we ended up having to do. But before we did that, I got both wheel cylinders installed on the driver's side and passenger side, buttoned the passenger side back up pretty much so that that was done. And for anybody who hasn't pulled the drum brakes off from these Dana 70 rear axles here, it is 2 1/2-inch bolts that hold the wheel cylinder into the drum. And then it's a 7/16 nut that holds your adjuster cable, all that whole assembly that has your adjuster cable and all that. 7/16 nut to get that to separate, and then you're gonna have to tap it with a hammer and knock that out of the drum so you can move it off to the side. But once you do that, once you get that knocked out of the way, you can snake that wheel cylinder right out of there at that point, and you don't have to undo any other hardware, any other springs inside the drum. You can just kind of weasel that new wheel cylinder right in there in between the shoes. Make sure you have your little posts, your studs, whatever in there that press outwards to engage the shoes. Make sure you get those in there and seated correctly, and then that's it. You can start to reassemble and put everything back together. Make sure that when you put the drum on, you are adjusting your star wheel through the back plate of the drum there. You can pull out the little rubber grommet and adjust that with a small flathead screwdriver. And you want to make sure that there's a little bit of drag on the drum when you adjust it. Then we ran out to the parts store and I grabbed 2 20-inch 3/16 brake lines. I did not have the proper tool to bend the brake line and mock it up and mimic the other one, so I had to bend it by hand. So the bends in it are not quite as tight as the other ones, but it still looks just like the old one. It just isn't as tight. But that doesn't matter because I was still able to get it connected and hooked up, and it's such a short piece of line that I'm not too concerned about whether or not it's exactly like the old one was. If it was a longer, bigger piece of line, then I would have probably wanted to pick up the tool to bend it properly. I was a little nervous bending it with my hands because obviously you don't want to kink it or just fold it over. So I was a little nervous doing it that way, but we got it. It all was good, and we got it all installed and started to bleed the brakes at that point. For bleeding the brakes, what I did was created a little bottle for bleeding the brakes on your own, like a one-person bleeding method, because I had originally planned on doing it here at the house, but I ended up just using that bottle more or less to catch all the old brake fluid and use the hose that ran off the bleeder nipple into the bottle to tell when the fluid went from dark to clear, and I knew that we had good fresh fluid in the brake lines. So my dad was in the truck, and basically what you want to do if you're doing the two-person method, you all know how to do that. You yell into the other person to pump, press, whatever, you crack the bleeder, tighten it off, and tell them to let off. So you guys all know how to do the two-person method. For the one-person method though, you're going to take your bottle, and what I did was drilled a 5/16 hole here in the cap, and then another just tiny little hole in the top. And that little hole is basically to vent it so that the fluid would just go in and everything was good. But then the hose there, you see the line is a 3/16 inner diameter hose, and then it's 5/16 outer diameter. So that is big enough to fit over your bleeder nipples. And what that's going to do is when you crack that bleeder nipple and you have that hose over the end of it, you can then hop in your truck and you can just slowly press the pedal down, let it up, press it down, let it up, and it'll push that old fluid out. And when you're doing it, you want to make sure you have a quarter of your bottle filled up with fresh brake fluid so that when you let the pedal up, it doesn't want to suck air back up through this hose into your brake line. It'll suck fluid up because it's resting in the fluid and it doesn't have any air to suck. And then you're just going to do that multiple times. Make sure you get out, check your master cylinder to see how low it's getting and top it off so that you don't run that dry and suck more air into the lines and then have to start all over. And get out, check your bottle as it starts to get full, tighten up your bleeder, pull the hose off, go empty your bottle out a little, leave it a quarter full, rehook it up, and continue to do that and work your way around the truck. And that's basically how you're going to do that one-person method. Now, I didn't have to do it with one person because, like I said, my dad hopped in the truck and he pressed down and let up, and I just kind of monitored everything and told him when the line was good and had good fluid in it, there was no more air, and then I capped it off, tightened it up or whatever, and moved on to the next one, and we just ran through the system that way. So it made it quicker with two people, but that is how you could do it with just yourself by making one of those bottles there. So after finishing all that up, I mean, the brakes feel a little bit better. I think the wheel cylinders were definitely a little shot, going bad, and not working properly, not engaging fully, because we definitely felt like we had a lack of rear brakes, and the fronts felt like they were engaging in full force and wanted to lock up because they were taking all the pressure and all the force up front, whereas the rears weren't assisting in helping the truck stop. So that has changed. Everything feels a little bit better now, but the pedal is still messed up. It sinks a little bit and then gets a little firm, and it has a slow return to come back up when I take my foot off of it. So we have to look into the power steering pump and flush that out next, get fresh fluid in that. We're going to start small and simple, see if some good clean fluid and burping the air out of the power steering pump will help in getting the power assist back on the brakes, because as you guys know, the power steering pump is what powers the hydrobooster to give power assist to the master cylinder and engage all your brakes and all that. So I'm not sure if that dirty fluid in the power steering pump is causing any issues or not, or if there is some air trapped in there, but we're going to get that all flushed out and get new fluid in that as well. I also want to get the new master cylinder installed. Now that we have all fresh fluid in the lines, I will pluck the old master cylinder off, put the new one on, and then rebleed everything, and then we'll have a fresh master cylinder, all fresh brake fluid, and all fresh power steering fluid as well. And with any luck, that stuff will take care of it and we won't have to dick around with getting the power steering pump pulled off to install a new one. But that was really it for the brake stuff and doing that little brake job, flushing it all out, installing the wheel cylinders. The only eventful thing that happened was breaking that brake line and then having to rebend it by hand. So that was the only thing that stressed me out and made that job go a little longer than it should have. But before I left Dad's house, I did end up popping the top off the fuse box underneath the hood because I had to pull the main fuse in there. As you guys know, we were getting what I thought might have been an issue with the starter, because when we were going to start the truck, it would almost want to die basically. It sounded like dead batteries, or like it didn't have enough juice to kick off and turn over. Well, I did some reading and research, and then I actually decided to check the truck for codes and had a code, and we'll get into this in another video, and I'll kind of talk about it and show you what I did to fix it. But I ended up figuring out that it might be a problem with the main fuse underneath the hood. So we pulled that out and cleaned it all up and loaded it up with dielectric grease, and what do you know, truck had full starting power again after that. So that seems to have cleared that issue up. But like I said, we'll go over that in another video and I'll show you exactly what I did and I'll tell you what code I had and all that fun stuff. For now, I'm going to wrap this one up and get out of here. So if you guys could do me a favor and hit that thumbs up button, it really helps with the channel growth and hopefully getting us new family members. If you are new here, stopping in for the first time, hit that subscribe button. I've noticed that a lot of the viewers here on the channel are not subscribed. So if you guys are just popping in to watch the videos and not subscribing, but you're still coming back and watching the videos, what are you doing? Hit that subscribe button, join the family, turn on the post notifications so you're notified as soon as I upload. Once the first of the year hits, we are going to be doing some changes on the 24 valve Cummins and you're not going to want to miss it. So subscribe, join the family, and I will see you guys in the next video. And don't forget to check out the links down in the description for parts and tools, whatever. I still get a lot of people asking me for part numbers or where I got this part, this tool, whatever it is. Everything is listed down in the video descriptions for your convenience and makes it nice and easy for you guys to find that stuff. So go down there, click on the links of what you're looking for. It'll take you right to it and you're all set. Those links will also help the channel out and help to bring more content your way. So if you use them, I greatly appreciate it. And I'm gone. Peace.